Director Chang, Venerable Chang, and everyone online on the room, good evening. I am Chen Qiu-Hong. I'm honored to be the host for today. I'm very excited to see the venerables and everybody who I haven't seen for a long time. Before we started, let's follow the etiquette. Please join palms and bow. Bow to Venerable Shen Yan, the founder of DDM. Bow to the venerables. Thank you. It is our privilege to invite Venerable Changqi to give this Dharma talk on major themes in the Vimalakirti Sutra, neither attachment nor detachment in worldly life. There are 4 lectures in the series of talks, and today is the first one. Venerable Changqi graduated from the Chang department of DDM Sangha University. He is also among the first class who graduated from the Chang department. He served as a lecturer in Chang Hall of DDM headquarters, and currently he serves as a vice president for academic affairs at Sangha University. I remember Venerable Changxing was here back in 2017. I recall he taught many courses ranging from instruction of Dharma instrument, guiding meditations, and 2 courses on legacies of Sanghas. I remember when he talked, our classroom are always packed. Fazi is most humorous, and he is always able to talk about things that is close to the life of modern people. So this really helps us better understand the concept of Buddhism and ways to implement them in our daily life. So please join me to give the time to our director so that he can introduce Venerable Changqi and the talk. So good evening. Everybody knows that today there are a few characteristics of Vimalakirti's Sutra. So it doesn't matter where you are in different parts of the West Coast in the United States. You all know that philosophy of DDM. To this, our philosophy of DDM, to uplift the character of humanity and build the pure land on earth. And this is coming from the first chapter of Vimalakirti Sutras. And it says that if a Bodhisattva wants to attain the pure land, he must purify his mind. So pure Buddha land becomes from Bodhisattva's pure mind. And so it has a lot to do with our DDM's philosophy. And so why is Vimalakirti Sutra is so well known by people? Well, first of all, because it's very artistic. He used a lot of, so everybody knows that earlier Mahayana scripture was very straightforward. It's not most artistic, but when Mahayana Buddhist scripture become more popular, they use a lot of literary element. For example, Prajna Sutra uses negative expression, and Lotus Sutra, Vimalakirti, Huayan Sutras use symbolic expression. So this particular sutra is very artistic. So it's very suitable for Venerable Changqi, who is also very artistic, to present this topic. This particular sutra talking about lay Bodhisattva and his life. So it is very helpful for lay person and your way of studying Buddhism in life. So our practicing Buddhism is located in our life. So philosophically, our life is the demonstration of true Buddhism, true Buddha nature. As a result of that, this sutra, this This sutra advocates the idea of not abandoning the Buddha path, but doing what the layperson do in your worldly life and entering the realm of nirvana while experiencing the constant vexation. This is the position of Vimalakirti Sutra. Of course, our host have provided a lot of introduction of our Venerable Sutra. He has been here in 2017 and 2019. Last year in April, he also offered a few courses on the legacies of previous venerables. His courses are always humorous, informative, and engaging. So please join me to welcome Venerable Chang for bringing us the coolness of Dharma in a hot summer evening. Let me give me the time to Venerable Chang. Thank you.
Amitabha, thank you, Abbott, this introduction. Hearing your the introduction from the two, feel a little bit ashamed. I'm not as good as they said. I'm still learning myself. And thank you very much, the San Francisco branch, and giving me all these opportunities to practice. And originally, this course, the title is the Vimalakirti Sutras. The main points that is addressed in an overview. So how was I going to present this? My original plan was to talk about the original causations of this the sutra, and then talk about the Pure Land as well as the non-dual and the Bodhisattva path. But I wasn't quite ready then. So and when I was preparing for this, in communication with the, the team at the San Francisco, I realized that the materials still need some foundational material. We still need some kind of overview of the sutra. Then we can go deep into the chapters. And so, as an overview, this is to talk about it more broadly. So we did a little bit of an adjustment. So you see that the title is changed to Vimalakirti Sutra, a guided overview. And the layout is similar to before. You talk about the origins and the importance, and then how the influence. So just like what the San Francisco said, Abbott said. So and then following that, we'll talk about, we'll do a guided overview from the first chapter to the 12th chapter. And this is kind of an overview plus, because when I have given a talk, a 7 talk in the Vancouver branch, and I'm where did I end? I think I ended at the 7th chapter, and I talked about it in more detail, so we didn't get to finish. So I want to use this opportunity to give a broad stroke of the Vimalakirti Sutra to you all. So this 4 classes, the presentation method was changed a little bit. It would be more suitable for people who are not familiar with Vimalakirti Sutra to get a good introduction to this class. So I hope this is good for you, and because I'm not that high level, so this is what I can present. This is more like myself as well. And I will also talk about how I approach sutra readings and how I read it, and this will be a little bit different from Master Sheng Yin's writing of the sutra. So this will be kind of a good complement to that. So we'll start. And my course overview I'll talk about the today is these four. We'll talk the title, the origins, and the translator, which is Korma Jiva. And my starting point is usually the system of categorizations and also the main themes. And then following that, I will look at each chapter and see how it relates to the main themes. So so that I don't get lost in the beautiful language of the text, but I can maintain and keep in mind the main point and the needs of the time when this sutra was written. So the system and the main themes are the most important thing to remember, especially the structure is most important, is most evident is in the first chapter. Is this okay? Because the internet course is it will less opportunity for interaction. So I think now I'm getting more used to it. Last year uh, I was not used to not having having an audience. It's kind of like having a show by yourself without audience. I think maybe because this time I have some people showing up on my screen here. I could. So this in this PowerPoint, you see that there's English translation. It's really really nice because we have a translator team that helped us make this happen. So so why the origins of the talk? So because this is the where the Dharma Drum mission statement is based on the sutra. So if the Bodhisattva wants to obtain a pure land, he should purify his mind. If the mind is pure, then the Buddha land will be pure. This is the foundation of the spiritual environmental protection and building a pure land on earth. So if we have a pure mind, is the land also pure? So we might have a we might fall into the consciousness only trap, and obviously that it's not just the mind is pure and land is pure. There must also be a point of practice and application, and that allow us to realize the fulfill the step between the pure land, between the pure mind and pure land. And so this is the point where everybody should work on. So not only do we have this spiritual environmental protection, we also have four other kinds of environmental protection. And you must combine the mind and and the environment together, so you're not just living isolated from the world, uh, and in a consciousness only matter. So from the structure of the sutra, it's really isn't just a consciousness only kind of theory. So once we have this idea, once we look over this, and we can see and why the other three environmental protection we need to look at, promote. And so so because this is what the mission statement, what the mission statement is based on, we hope that everybody can understand this sutra, to know this sutra better, and this will allow us to better practice and 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 our conduct. And I like the sutra is because there's a lot of counterintuitive but straightforward prajna thoughts. And so what is counterintuitive? What's counterintuitive about it? Because a lot of the things that we commonly think of, it's actually opposite of that. So for example, in the Buddha Land chapter, uh, the Ratnarasi elder asked the Buddha, So where does your Pure Land come from? What is the Buddha Pure Land? So we often think that Buddha Pure Land is like the Pure Land of the Western world. It's wonderful, beautiful, but the Buddha said all sentient being is the Buddha Pure Land. So what does the all sentient being represent? We represent vexations, and we are uh, swimming in samsara. But the Buddha said was the sentient beings is the Pure Land. So it seems to be counterintuitive. So it's to say, like, if we're practicing the Bodhisattva path, we need to seek, how do we get to the Buddha path? So the Buddha said you have to practice the non-path. If you want to be the Buddha, you can't you shouldn't practice the Buddha way. In fact, you should kind of you should practice all the opposite of that. And that's because all the sentient beings are in vexation. They are in worldly trouble. So you should practice within that. So all the Buddhas, where does their liberation come from? They come from all the sentient beings' needs, and that's within all the greed, hatred, and illusion. So these kind of thoughts are counterintuitive, but they're in fact they are points for us to inquire and curious and to think about why this is. If you can thoroughly understand this, then you can have a very deep understanding of Buddhism. So you're not biased to just the pure side, focusing on everything that's pure. And this is why I like this sutra. Not only is there the beautiful language, it also lets you stop and think about why they say things the way they are. So why does the Vimalakirti Sutra has this kind of thought? Because the timing of the beginning of this sutra is at the beginning of the Mahayana branch, and so what their focus is on the very first supreme truth, which is the non-duality, and it is different from the Sravaka method, where you have a step from precepts and concentration and wisdom, and it is the early Mahayana Buddhism is very direct, and that's why they say vexation is Bodhi, urging people to reflect and observe. And so, what is that? Because they're asking people to put together the the connection of these. So, because at the time there other outside path of Buddhism are emerging, and their focus is on their own practice. And so the Mahayana Buddhist origin is they often scold and repute a lot of these Hinayana branch. And so this this sutra is very close to the beginning of the transmission of Buddhism to China, probably about 100 years apart. So when we're to understand a sutra, we have to kind of treat it as a riddle. If we think of all the things in very logical and conventional ways, you have to break all of that, break out of that all that. So I found a little bit of information from so you have to break the knots in your mind. So let's see. Can we okay, so first, what is the thing that cannot talk but will reply to you when you talk to it? So if when people are talking, what should I do? Can I, can they, no one? So what is a thing that cannot talk but will reply to you when you talk to it? But see, it's very contradictory, right? But in Vimalakirti, in Vimalakirti Sutra, it is able to make this connection very well. Do you want to know the answer? So let's have Venerable Changxing answer this for us. That is echo, the sound of echo, or like echo in the valley. So if you say into the valley, you say good morning, and you'll hear the echo from. So the mountain itself does not make a sound, but if you talk to it, it will have an echo coming back to you. So now you see the answer. So if you see these two contradictory things, you might not have the answer right away. You always see that it's always in contradiction, and it's just because we are not able to see the.
So how can you extend the line without touching it? So remember, you cannot touch the line, remember? So Venerable Changxing, would you like to give it a shot? Or can our host give it a shot? I would like to answer the first question. I'm thinking about theory. You know, the apple, the gears that whenever you talk to it, it will respond to your question and request. So it can generate sounds, right? Yes. That's okay. How about number 2?
我讲，你把脸贴近它，它就看起来比较长。对。
If your face look closer to it, it will become longer.
对。
So no, it's as
就
short
是
as
在
it
你眼
was,
睛看起来是比较长的。
but it looks longer, although it's the same. Does it? Oh, okay. Maybe it's one way to do it. But if you don't stretch your head to look at it, what else can you do? That's not waste time. You draw another line next to it, which is a little bit shorter than that, will make the first line longer, because the length of the line is based upon comparison. So if you give it another shorter line, it will make it look longer. So in this sutra, there's a lot of examples like differences in size and length. How do they complement and accommodate each other? And sometimes it's movable, but you cannot sense its movement. So there are a few examples like this, which is harder for us to understand. Number 3, so imagine there's a room without window or door, and it's being flooded. And how can you escape before you're drowned? Any idea, anyone? See, this is kind of a brain twisting. There are some key points. As long as you can break down those key points, you will understand the sutra. So how did this person get into this room in the first place? So this sentence, there's a room. This is the second sentence. So it depends on how these people coming in. People can leave the room in the same way.
不要想象就可以了。
Don't imagine it. For example, you are dreaming about being chased by tiger. How could you stop that? well, I can slap you and wake you up from your dream, and then you know you're not chased after by a tiger. So as long as you can wake up from this, you will get it. So this sutra always present an idea that we realize that we are struggling between all kinds of dichotomies. And the best way you can do to resolve this, to be awake from your dream. For example, you dream about that you won the lottery ticket of $1 million. It's a dream, right? So how could we see the Dharma nature behind all the scene, all the phenomena? And this is what we can learn from this sutra, the last. What kind of question will forever prevent people from replying with a yes? For example, we interact with other people, we nodding our heads and say yes. And what's the question that when you ask, they can never say yes? So what would that question be? If it's based upon the points of linguistics. So that's not ask yes, no question. So if you ask why or how question, they will never say yes. So that's just not ask yes, no questions. But the question is not that complicated. Can you hear me, everybody? Okay, good. Do you know what's the answer? If you ask him, are you sleeping? Then he will never say yes. So if you ask people, are you sleeping? If people are sleeping, person cannot answer with yes. Of course, the person cannot say no either. If you are not sleeping, you will say, no, I didn't. So anyway, you won't answer with a yes. So this question will be extended to the next. So in this sutra, let's see an example. Student asks a wise person, where does the wisdom come from? And the wise person say, where does the correct judgment come from? And he say, where does the correct judgment come from? He say, from experience. And where does the experience come from? From the wrong judgment, right? So is wisdom come from the correct judgment or wrong judgment? It's actually come from both. In the sutra will show a lot of dialogue like this. And when it shows this, the contradiction will be resolved. For example, we're asking, how do Buddha liberate Bodhisattva be afraid of life and death? So how do we resolve that? They will say, get rid of the suffering of life and death. So from the dialogue, the suffering or the fear of the life and death will be resolved. So the contradiction or the duality will be resolved from the dialogue. So example like this are plenty in this sutra. So let's look at number 3. In the earlier Mahayana, they criticize Hinayana. They say they just try to get liberated themselves. So they said that we have to practice Bodhisattva path. So not only we have to liberate ourselves, we have to liberate others. So we have to emphasize both great compassion and wisdom of emptiness. So you have to obtain the wisdom of emptiness, then you will develop your great compassion. So if only you want to benefit others but hurt myself, that's not practicing, that's not demonstrating the wisdom of emptiness. You have to do both simultaneously, and that shows both wisdom and compassion. So I said, well, I only want to benefit others at my expense. That doesn't work. That seems that you are divided this into two tasks. They should be connected. So you have to develop your wisdom first and then develop your compassion. These two are connected in order to benefit self and others simultaneously. So when they're talking about benefiting others, they have to talk about self-benefiting as well. So if you only talk about wisdom and emptiness, you then become Hinayana. So we're talking about it's not only the breath, it should be the deep. The depth and breath should be together. And then, of course, you have to obtain the Buddha path, and then you have to deliver all essential beings together. So for people who are either ordained or not ordained, this is a great sutra, and these are good points that we should look into. For example, do you still have attachment? If I only benefit others, which in turn hurt myself. So this is like the two wings which we have to wave together in order to fly. So Bodhisattva path should be a very balanced act. And this is what was talked about by our director. So it was in the 4th centuries by Kumarajiva. It's very artistic. So a lot of people has developed commentaries for this sutra. So a lot of people, a lot of scholars and monks has provided commentary for this sutra. And then of course, in a lot of grottos, in Yungang, Longmen, and Dunhuang, you will see a lot of carvings and painting of Vimalakirti Sutra. So you will see Vimalakirti lying on the bed. And it also talks about it has some influence on developing of some of the plots in Chinese dramas and operas. For example, the goddess scaring flowers, Metsusuri inquiring about Vimalakirti. So those are the plots that you see often in some of the dramas. And in the Tang Dynasty, Song Dynasty. So they kind of simplifies the sutra and then try to reach and make a story out of this in order to reach wider audience. And during the Song Dynasty, all the scholars has to know Vimalakirti Sutra. So this is something that you think you would help you to learn and practice Buddhas, but now it becomes a topic of people's everyday conversation. So because of that, it becomes people's daily conversation. It then reach out a bigger audience. So when we look at the stories and the folks stories and look at the artwork, it's there, it's available, but it's not give us a clear or correct understanding of this sutra. So we have to learn this correctly. And of course, continue to talk about its profound impact on Chinese culture. For example, talking about Dharma gate of non-duality, supreme eloquence, inconceivable, master seed, accommodating mountains, Muru. These are coming from the sutra. And also talking about how a lotus come out of silt, but it's not polluted by it. This is included in the chapter 8. It's not just that the lotus is not polluted by that. It emphasized the lotus can only come out of silt. It says that if you reach Nirvana through Hanayani, you will not become a lotus. The purity of your Buddha nature has to come from the suffering of all sentient beings. So this is a kind of extreme point that he tried to make. So it's not just lotus is not polluted by it. It's actually implied a strong criticism of the Hinayana group. So sentient being is more important than you as a Bodhisattva. This sutra
constantly scold and repudiate the Hinayana. So we have to kind of be immunized from this and know that to be prepared for that. So in the 4th chapter, the Bodhisattva chapter, so also in the culinary chapter is very special. In this the fragrant land, the Buddha, the way that they deliver sentient being is to use food and the fragrance to help them deliver sentient beings. So in that chapter, they brought the food from the fragrant land over to the gathering, the group of gathering. And so they ask Vimalakirti Sutra, it's like, so when, it's very fragrant, right? And when does the scent of the fragrant, when will that be gone? So if you made a vow to become an arhat, and that this scent will be removed when you reach arhatship. And so likewise for bodhisattva path, you only cease to smell when you become a bodhisattva. And the next one is to satisfy one's needs and then immerse one in the Buddha's wisdom. This also comes out of the Vimalakirti Sutra. So when we are trying to reach out to the sentient beings, we first have to know how the expedient means to that they can accept. Then we can kind of connect with them. We first have to satisfy their needs first, and then we can kind of help guide them into the path. So the other one is the straightforward mind in the seat of the enlightenment. This is this often appears in the Platform Sutra and a lot of Chang literature, and this is a lot talking about having a incomparable confidence in the three triple treasure and Buddhism, and this has been passed on up till today, and we're still using it. That's why I'm talking about this now. So you have to be vaccinated, so to speak, before we learn the sutra. So a big characteristic of the early Mahayana Buddhism, in order to show their uniqueness, they often scold or repudiate the Shravaka vehicle, and because they often have an idea that the phenomenon is real, and so but this sutra, the position is that all phenomenon is empty. So in order to show the difference between these two vehicles, they use a lot of this presentation of scolding of the Sravaka vehicle to show this. And so the flower garland sutra is different. It talks, its position is that whatever path you take, you always become you'll always reach the Buddhahood. So one takes a more inclusive position, and one takes a more comparative and attacking or opposing position. And so, because the Flower Garden Sutra was spoken at before the Buddha entered parinirvana. So and it's because this sutra came out in the early Mahayana period, and that's why it has this kind of characteristics. So we should not be looked down on monks or renunciant because after we read this sutra. So we cannot think that the Sravaka path is bad, and we cannot look down on monks or renunciants or the other vehicles. So their focus, their attack is mostly on the practices that only focus on delivering themselves, and they're in order. You must, for the Sravaka vehicle, they see that in order to be liberated, you must leave the worldly. And this is the concept that the Vimalakirti Sutra is trying to attack. So the title, there's about 7 different translation of the sutra. So the first one is the old Vimalakirti Sutra, and the second one is by Kumarajiva, and the latest is by Venlo Shenzang in Tang Dynasty. It is called the not defiled repute sutra. It is and this is the name of the Vimalakirti Sutra. So Vimalakirti also means undefiled or pure, and of repute, of reputation. And so people come over from far and wide to come listen to this lay practitioner. So our focus is on Kumarajiva's translation. Is very has very beautiful language, and it can take us into the story. And the translation from Venerable Shenzang is more direct, so it often can be more difficult to read because it's translated word by word. And because when they're translating this sutra is more of the Madhyamaka thought, but Venerable Shenzang's a really great point when translating this is not bringing in the bring in his own position into this sutra, because the sutra is more about the Madhyamaka, which is different than what Venerable Shenzang is known for. This is good to know. So in the Great Perfection of Wisdom, we know that there are sutras that are shared by 5 beings. First is by the Buddha, second by Buddha's disciples, third by heavenly beings, fourth by the immortal, and fifth is by the conjured beings. But this sutra is mainly by the Buddha's disciples. But the beginning and the end is still by both by Buddha. So this sutra is unique because it has both the words by the Buddha and also the Buddha's disciples. So the title comes from the epilogue. They ask the Buddha, how do I name this sutra? So the Buddha said, this should be called the Inconceivable Liberation, or also the Vimalakirti's Inconceivable Liberation Sutra by Vimalakirti. So in the end, it's called the Inconceivable Liberation Sutra by Vimalakirti. And because for all the beings who have entered the non-duality, these 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 practitioners are called inconceivable and non-dual um, non-dual non-duality. So what does inconceivable mean? Inconceivable means that you cannot use your discursive thinking, or you cannot use your words and mouth to discuss. You have to leave and let go of concepts and and ideas. And because if you anything that you can say or speak, then there's always a position. So you must leave the duality nature. And so not only is it is there explanation, there's also manifestation in this sutra. So how do you manifest that? There's a lot of very magical and beautiful scenery presented in this sutra. So it's not just explaining what the inconceivable is, but not only is there direct saying, or there's also saying teaching using analogies, and that's what we call a kind of a false description. And then the lastly is to directly manifesting. So for example, like the Sumera mountain, shrinking that into a very, very small room. These are direct manifestation of the inconceivable into in the story. So when we talk about the structure, we'll talk more about it then. Okay, so next I want to talk about the translator, Kumarajiva. So when I'm talking about Kumarajiva, I want to ask everybody, do you guys should have some basic understandings of Kumarajiva, right? Do I need to talk about it? Because the public do not have the ability to respond, so then they are not able to let you know. So we will open this at the end of the sutra, at the end of the talk. So I'll basically go over his life. You know, Shariputra, right? It is the most important kind of the base control group, because he's the one that was scolded the most. Before he was born, his mother and his uncle were often debating Buddhism. So they're always just debating. But his mother is often lose to his uncle. But so ever since his mother was conceived with Shariputra, then he'd always win his debates. And so he thinks, oh, it must be this baby. And so Kumarjiva is like so as well. His mother name is Qituo, and it's the Kucha lands, the sister of a prince. So when his debates are she always wins his debates when she conceived with Kumarjiva. So before Kumarjiva was born, there was already a lot of signs of very important signs, and these signs are happening to his mother. So his mother is also a Buddhist. It's a very small country in Western region. It's Kucha. It's probably near where today Xinjiang in China. So they are his mother is very keen to to cultivate his son to become a monk. So he became a monk or renunciant at age 7. So what does that mean? That means you need to let go of everything. you have to, so you cannot live in the live in the world of the royal. And so he was called, he had very special ability. He could memorize, he could recite thousands of verses. So that amounts to 200,000 verse. No, sorry, 20 verse, and that's very impressive for a kid to. So after 2 years of becoming monk, he went to India with his mother to learn the Hinayana, and he's just 9 years old. And he has to go across the Gobi Desert from Xinjiang and they have to pass, you have to, in any way, whichever path he took, he has to go to India with his mother to. That's very, his mother is very very determined. And when he was 13, he switched to learning the Mahayana Buddhism. So his first introduction is the Madhyamaka thought. It resonates with that. And so, and 20 years old, when he received the full precepts, and so his name was widely known, and this is good and bad for him, because of course he was actually very known, very good, but the good, there's always good and bad to being well known. So how do we see this? So it started in a bad and because in his.
So Dao An monk is a very famous monk in China. So for example, when do we have our morning practice? When do we eat? And how do we get along? Because there's increasing group of monks, and this rule has been determined by Venerable Dao An. So Venerable Dao An has sorted and sorted all the Buddhism literatures in China. At that time, Qianqin is one of the strongest country in northern China, and then so Venerable Dao An go to this country and say there's another person who is very strong. So Fujian was sent General Liu to go to his original country, Kucha, to invite him to China. And during this time, during the process of invitation, there's another war. And the East Jin has a war, and then they defeated Fujian. So there's some expression to talking about Fujian, talking about he is afraid of wind or grass moving. As a result of that war, his country is defeated, and the country is gone. And General Liu at that time heard that his country has been defeated, so he decided to make himself a king at Kucha. And, it's really very chaotic during the time. So General Liu named himself a king at Kucha. So because Kumarojiva, well known by people, he was held captive although he was intended to go to China for translation, but he was kept in Kucha for 16 years. Because during that 16 years, he learned Chinese. So he was very good at Chinese Indian. He has a good command of Chinese language. Is it good? But during that 16 years, he was forced to marry the daughter of the king, because everybody said, well, you are so smart, you have to have descendants. So they forced him to get married. So after that 16 years, there's the different country rise and fall in the northern part of China. And then yet another country, Yaoxing, wants to invite Kumarajiva to northern China. And finally, he arrived in Chang'an, the capital of northern China. And again, he was regarded as a religious teacher of the state. However, he was forced to marry again and have kids. And that is true that he did not live with the monastery community. He lived somewhere else. But that's also allowed him to start his business of translation. So because he has started, because he has experiences of learning Buddhism and Chinese, he began to publish and translate Buddhism and sutras extensively. He has a huge teams of translator. It's about 200 people work for him. Even the king is part of his translator staff. Because you have a huge team, you can translate extensively. Because he has wife and he has kids and he did not live with other monks. So a few disciples would like to learn, would like to follow his steps to marry and have kids. And they say, we would like to do that too. So in the morning during the breakfast, he has a bowl of needles. And he said, well, to his disciple, if you can eat these bowls of needles and they would not die, then you can get married. So he actually began to eat the 4 bowls of needles like regular food. And so his disciple began to feel shame and stop their intention to get married. So the monks at the time sometimes demonstrate transcendental powers from time to time. And then because they want to convince and try to convert sensual beings, so they demonstrate some of this transcendental power to spread Buddhism. So more or less, they have those like manifestation of a transcendental power. He has translated a lot of work. So those important sutra, like Diamond Sutra, middle commentary on the great perception of wisdom, those sutra, those are still circulated nowadays. So those are all translated by him. He had translated for almost 20 years. He says, I am going through different suffering. But I want to make sure people know my translation is correct. When I was cremated after I died, I want to make sure that my tongue is intact. If everything I translated is correct, my tongue will be intact. And so when people check, his tongue was intact. Everything else is burned into ashes. So this is what is documented in some of the books. Because he is ordained, but he doesn't kind of uphold the precept. Before he had the Dharma talk, he always says that lotus flower is born into stinging silt. So pick the flower, not the silt. He knows that some of his deed will be misunderstood for people. However, he want to make sure that he does spread correct Buddhisms. So he want people to see flowers as a symbol of correct Buddhism, not his own deeds. So if we can say that if the water is extremely pure, you cannot raise fish within it. So you have to work with the essential beings in order to help them. Let's take a break. And then let's take a break. So how long is our break? 5 minutes break. Let's take a 5 minutes break. So come back at 8:05 or 11:05 Taiwan time. Okay, thank you.
Please take a break. If you have any questions, you can write them down and we'll
Share screen. In the chat, we did not see it. Are you talking about share PowerPoint? I already sent that to Joyce so that she can share that to everybody online. So sorry, let's get started. So characteristic of his translation, he has a big translation team. He has like a verbal translation as well as handwritten translation, which will be later verified by his king. So they have a system before him. So there's a two school of thoughts. One is emphasizing kind of more straightforward, and the other were emphasizing the beautiful language. And when it comes to him, he tried to cover characteristic of both sides. He translated, switch from straightforward translation to meaning translation. So that's his characteristic. So he tried to translate meaning. So his language is very smooth and ornate, and it's very kind of with strong literary expressiveness. Also talk about, because Chinese culture is very strong at the time, the culture from outside has to be understood through Chinese culture lenses. So a lot of translation has to use the language that already used by Chinese. So at that time, not only Monk Daoan or Kumarajiva, they want to translate prajna. So they decided to skip some of the translation, but begin to create some of the language that could be better understood by Chinese. So he wanted to emphasize prajna and middle way. And he also criticizing Savarkar and Hinayana. Also reject the theory of existence of absolute reality. So that's his characteristics. So this sutra is very smooth. Language is written gracefully. And there is very dramatic. There is very theatric. So you can see people can quite relate it to his sutra.
So normally when we are learning the sutra, precepts and commentary, there are different techniques. So the sutras, there is a sequence. So there's always the question and then the following logic and following response. You have to, in order to understand scriptures or sutras, you need to know its sequence. You can't just focus on the pieces. And so the Vinaya, there are a lot of the causes and conditions that led to the development of the precepts. So you have to understand the reasons behind it, and that's because the time changes, so you can better understand why you can better know the essence of the precepts behind it. And regarding Abhidhamma, just the commentary, the Buddha, when he says the sutras, he's responding to all the different questions by different people, and depending on the different people, the Buddha will have different teachings. So oftentimes the teachings are contradictory, but and actually it's not, because the causes and conditions are different. So Abhidharma or commentary is to collect these things and do reorganizing or presenting a summary of or systematize and categorizing the teachings and how they go together. And so in order to understand the essence behind the Dharma and what it's trying to convey, then you have to look at the different levels of of the of the Abhidhamma. And so if you find the sutras contradicting each other, then you have to go to the Abhidhamma to find your answer. So this is coming from Venerable Inxun's book on study and practice of Buddhism. So because we have to study the sutra, right? So what Venerable Inxun says is the main thing is we have to understand the sequence of the sutra. If you don't understand the organization of the sutra, you will not be able to understand the context of the sutra, and you will not be able to grasp the key points. And you might even take the meaning out of context or have false interpretation, which may lead you astray. And you'll be very scattered and you will not have focus. And so when we're looking at the sutra, we have to look at the structure of the sutra to discover the main points. So yes, so let's look at the system of categorization of the sutra. So this system of categorization is organized by Venerable Yingshun. And so typically the forward and introduction will just talking about the six achievements. There are all the different kinds of achievements from there's six achievements is very typical and shared by all sutras. And the introduction of this is because so someone come to ask a Buddha a question. And so this is a son of the Ratna Rasi. And they came to the Buddha and they went to the Amara Park to visit the Buddha. And because they're all royals, so when they're all coming, they have very royal seats, and they have very beautiful precious umbrellas covering. People hold. They have people who hold the umbrellas and cover them, and at the same time they also donate these precious umbrellas to the Buddha. And so how big is this? Are these umbrellas? They're so big that it can cover the 3,000 realm, and so the people are in awe and ask the Buddha the question. And it says, Buddha, what your causes and conditions and the causes and effect of this land that you created, what is that? What is what is the cause of the Pure Land and the result of the Pure Land? So this whole chapter is talking about the cause and effect of the Pure Land. So in this chapter, the Buddha had to manifest and show what the Pure Land looks like. So he used his toe and touched the ground, and then all of a sudden the world became the Pure Land and took everybody to the Pure Land. So it's just what it's trying to say. It's trying to say that the Pure Land is always there. It's just simply that you cannot see it in the first place. And so this is a direct exemplifying or showing this is of the Pure Land. So this is showing the result of the Pure Land. So then we have to talk about the cause of the Pure Land. We'll talk about that later. So after this first chapter, then Vimalakirti came out. So this is the second chapter is the expedient means chapter, and Vimalakirti is showing himself as ill. So talk about who he is, what kind of person he is, and where did he come from, and kind of what are his actions and what are the things that he did. But actually his origins was has a lot of deep connection to this land, and because he's actually an ancient Buddha, and he's coming back to this world to deliver sentient beings. So he's talking about him being ill, and there are a lot of ordinary lay people when they're visiting his illness, then Vimalakirti would share Buddha Dharma with them. So the first section, if you want to cook and make a dish, if the wok is dirty, then even if the vegetables is fresh and clean, but if you cook it in a dirty wok, it'll always be dirty. And so if you want to plant some vegetable, if you plant it in a very poor soil with a lot of garbage, rocks, and if you plant the plant in there, you would probably never get any fruit. So regarding if we're gardening or cooking, the first thing we have to do is first we have to clean and get rid of the dirty things. First we clean the wok, we clean the vegetables. If we're planting, we first have to amend the soil and remove all the weed. And so how do we manifest the Pure Land? In the second, third, and fourth chapter, it's kind of like this process. You first have to remove all your defilement and your attachment, and for Shravakas, they see that they want to leave this worldly vexation. So they really want to leave the three realm. So the three realm is like poop, right? It's too stinky. I want to leave this world. And so they see the pure and defiled is as a dichotomy, and it's trying to remove that. So what are the attachments of the bodhisattvas? So the bodhisattva, there might be, they want to become Buddha. They do not have enough experience, and they do not have enough experience in delivering sentient beings. So they have this kind of vexations. So how do they kind of help them rid of these vexations? So I first have to do that, and before he can share the non-dual teachings to them. So the chapters 2 to 3 is to remove impurities in order to show the Pure Land. So the first is to obscure the ordinary emotions and dispel the fixed biases. And first they do that, and then they show the bodhisattva how to achieve the Pure Land. and so how that is in presented in three chapters of 5, 6, and 7, which is calling on the sick, borrowing thrones, and the initiation of the non-dual. So the Buddha Vimalakirti said, "Oh, I'm sick, so why you didn't visit me?" And so the Buddha sent his 10 great disciples, and all the great disciples, they say, "Oh no, I cannot go." And so they have some troubled past between the disciples and Vimalakirti, so they didn't want to go. So then, because then Buddha said, can the 4 great Bodhisattvas, ask the 4 great Bodhisattvas to go visit him. And all the 4 Bodhisattvas also said that in the past I had some qualms with Vimalakirti, so they don't want to go. So even up to the 4th chapters, Vimalakirti has not even showed up. Up till the 5th chapter, that's when Vimalakirti actually showed up. So some people might categorize this differently, where they say the 5th chapter is the real body, is beginning of the body of the sutra. So the 5th chapter, because no one wants to go, right? So the Buddha asked Manjusri if Manjusri wants to go, and Manjusri said, Vimalakirti is too powerful. He's too high level. He sounds like he doesn't want to go, right? Manjusri doesn't want to go. So even though he is incomparable and so great, he still went. So all the people who said that they wouldn't go, when they heard Manjusri that he would go, they all followed and all came. So when they went to Manjusri's Vimalakirti's place, when they arrived, the first thing that they did is removed all the furniture and cleared everything in the room. So there's a reason behind this, and in this section, the Manjusri Bodhisattva ask Vimalakirti, like, what is your illness? What is the cause of the illness? And what are the symptoms? And it's just like usual, right? Because both of them are very, very advanced, and so Manjusri asked, if someone is sick, how should one ask and care for them? So that this is very, very advanced way of asking. This is the first question by Manjusri, and the second question is, oh, actually no, sorry, this is the second question. This is the second question. The first question is, if for bodhisattvas who are ill themselves, how can they make themselves feel better? So from a perspective of bodhisattva, how can they benefit themselves and also others, and as well as how they can help other bodhisattvas that are ill and alleviate their attachments. So Manjusri is starting from the point of illness to explain the inconceivable, and to explain how do you enter the non-duality, and to know how do you enter the bodhisattva path. So this chapter is kind of like a microcosm of the whole sutra, and it's presented in this form of illness to explain the broad structure of the sutra. And the unique structure of this the sutra, regardless if it's with illness or directly after it's said, there's always a manifestation of the inconceivable. So the Manjusri's column, Vimalakirti, started with the questions, and then the next chapter is the inconceivable liberation chapter. And so this is a manifestation of the inconceivable nature and status of the.
So he removed a huge tall chairs and everybody can sit down there. So he used the mountain mural accommodated by master seat. These are all included in this chapter. So chapter 5 and chapter 6 are the same group. Chapter 7 through 10 seems to be included in the same group. For example, Mentor Sri called on Vimalakirti asking how a ill person control self and control others. And he talked about 33 ways to control self and others in order to enter the Dharma gate of non-duality. So he's talking about how to benefit self, benefit others. And then talking about after enter the non-duality, he talking about inconceivable. And he also talking about being practicing Bodhisattva path, you have to deliver others. And then chapter 7 and chapter 8, you're talking about practicing Bodhisattva path, you have to deliver essential beings and then obtain Buddhahood. So these are non-dual. So it's all in dialogue, either directly or with analogies. So after enter the Dharma gate of non-duality, what else? He now begin to demonstrate the majestic Buddha land. For example, the fragrant land, the Buddha nation of fragrant land, talking about how it looks like. He demonstrated, he manifest the entire fragrant land to people. So he said that after you get rid of vexation, then you will show the pure land. So what kind of vexation we're talking about? We're talking about vexation of ordinary people, bodhisattvas, sarakas. So after we get rid of this vexation, we are able to cook the delicious meal. We are able to plant strong vegetable. And then the second part, he's talking about benefit self and benefit other. They are non-dual. And then demonstrate the inconceivable phenomenon. And then, so you have to deliver all essential beings and obtain supreme Buddhahood simultaneously. So this is how you enter the Dharma gate of non-duality. And this is the purity of pure land. So when you're talking about the cause, so it's cause and effect. When you talk about the effect, but he show and manifest the effect of the pure land. For example, he manifests the effect of fragrant land to people. Not talk about that, but directly manifested. So he talked about the specific way to practice Bodhisattva paths, how you enter the Dharma gate of non-duality, and then he manifest the result, the effect of pure land. So this is what Vimalakirti addressed in his sutra. So want to make sure that what he said is all correct. So everybody, all the followers went back to Arma Park and then began to listen to Buddha. And then Buddha began to talk about how Bodhisattva practice. It says that everything, the beddings, the clothes, everything, and all the thoughts, bodhisattvas, can be used to deliver all sentient beings. So even those 8,400 vexations can be used as a gate to do Buddha matters. So this is what they talk about as a Bodhisattva path. They also talking about how people can dwell in conditioned as well as non-conditioned methods. So this is again the dialogue, right? So this is in chapter 2. That's where Vimalakirti came from. And people begin to talk about how are we able to see the Buddha of the Buddha land where Vimalakirti came from. So when we're talking about how do we see Buddha, we say, well, let's go to the Pure Land. But in this sutra, they say, well, no, Vimalakirti is the one that make vow to be reborn into the defiled land. So this is different from what we are thinking about, right? All of us want to go to the Pure Land, but Vimalakirti was reborn into this defiled land. So people ask him, why would you like to do that? Why would you die in the Pure Land, but vow to reborn into the defiled land? And people were asking, how could we see Buddha? And Buddha say, the way that you see yourself is the way that you see Buddha. So this is how Vimalakirti Sutra is different. You say that you and the Buddha has the same nature. So if you want to see the Pure Land, you have to see yourself. And your ultimate reality of yourself is the Dhamma body of Buddha. So there's a lot of twist in this sutra. And finally, in the chapter 13 and 14, talking about circulation of the Buddha, they say you have to believe in the Dharma, not believe in people. So this is all included in chapter 13. So this is the structure of the sutra. So there are 4 gatherings, and then all those themes are intertwined. So they're talking about the cause and effect of Pure Land, and from the cause to the effect, you have to continue to practice and walk on the Bodhisattva path. But how do we deliver people? The way that we deliver people is through non-duality. So these are major themes, and they are all closely intertwined. So I was talking about this, the sequences, and so Amarok is the first gathering. So they're talking about those precious umbrella that can cover the thousands of the worlds, and then allow Shariputra to see the Buddha land. And chapter 2 through 4, they're talking about different Savraka vehicles, what's their experiences with Vimalakirtis. When Shariputra says that he has to call on him, everybody decided to see and follow Shariputra to call on Vimalakirtis. And so this is from chapter 5 to chapter 10. So they're talking about how a Bodhisattva have to benefit self, benefit others, and enter the Dharma heart of non-duality. So he tried to say the cause and effect, and then everybody else now go back to Arma Park again in a second and meet again. And so the Buddha talked about the last 4 chapters. So there are 4 gatherings at 2 locations. And the theme is always about Bodhisattva path and how people walk on Bodhisattva path in order and using non-duality to obtain pure land. So that's talking about structure of the chapter. Probably we can only finish chapter 1 today. So what is Buddha land? So basically we're talking about Buddha's pure land. So the word nation is different from what we says. In our language, when we're talking about nations, we're talking about the ownership, the laws, and the king. But the land that we use here also means a universe or a space lived by a Buddha. So is the Buddha land built for the enjoyment of Buddha? No, it's not. The purpose of a Buddha land is for the Buddha to benefit and deliver sentient beings. So if there's a Buddha, there will be a Buddha land. So I won't speak too much here because there's so many pure lands in Mahayana Buddhisms. For example, when we're talking about our past, current, future, we're talking about three world pure land. There's a lot of pure lands in our Buddhism literature. There's one way to demonstrate the Buddha land. So Buddha land basically it is built for the purpose of delivering sentient beings. So I was talking about the Buddha demonstrate his transcendental power to combine all the umbrella into one. And so Renakara asked, your land is pure. So he was asking the effect and of his land. So he asking about the cause of his pure land. So the Buddha says that the land of the living beings is the pure land of Bodhisattvas. So this is kind of contradictory when people try to make sense out of that. So we're talking about all sentient beings. We're talking about sentient beings of different world, but basically we're talking about beings with a lot of vexation. But pure land is where lived by sage. So there's only pleasures, happiness, no sufferings. However, here he says that all sentient beings are pure land. This is how I like Vimalakirti Sutra, because he make these two together, connect these two together, although contradictory, but interesting. So this is the structure of chapter 1. So first of all, they are asking the cause and effect of pure land. So he did not talking about the result, the effect of pure land, he just manifested. So they are different cause of the pure land. So he said that you have to have sentient beings, you want to deliver them, so you build the pure land. So we're talking about a cause, and then which leads to the effect. So if I see people jump from the 10th floor, what would you say? You cannot talk, okay. I would say he will die. When did he die? When he jumped, the moment he jumped? No, he didn't. So the death is the result of this action. So when I see the cause of jumping, then I directly jump to the effect. So this is, so we talk about the effect from cause. So you have to have pure cause to talk about pure effect. So if you want to seek peace through war, would they work? Impossible, right? Because cause and effect has to relate to each other. So that's part he talking about. Pure effect leads to pure effect. Pure cause leads to pure effect. So if you practice all the approaches.
So the cause of the Pure Land is starting from the cause to talk about the effect. It's a little bit different than the other type of Pure Land sutras, where they describe all the beautiful things of the Pure Land, all the merits, all the beautiful things that are happening in the Amitabha Sutra. But here, the Pure Land is starting from the sentient being's defilement. So the ordinary people, as long as you are connected to the direct mind and pure mind, then that is the Pure Land. If you're practicing rightly, then you're in the Pure Land. So it's just the starting point is from the cause. So Shariputra is confused here, right? So then why is this world that we're in, this Swaha land, is so impure and defiled, right? Because pure cause connected to pure result, right? And defiled cause connect to defiled result. So Shariputra asked this question. And so then the Buddha said, used his toe and touched the ground and manifest the Pure Land to Shariputra. And what was presented is presented this beautiful land. And what is it trying to show? It's showing that, oh, so it's because our mind is not pure, and therefore we cannot see the Pure Land. And so that is to exemplify that if our mind is pure, then you can see the Pure Land. So not only is it talking about the causes and effect, the relation of cause and effect, but not only do you only have to have pure mind to be to see the Pure Land. There's still steps in between that we have to take. So we have to follow this. So the Bodhisattva established a Pure Land for the benefits of all beings. And so this is the thesis. This is the thesis, argument, and example. This is a very typical way to talk about this. And the Bodhisattva, this is the main point thesis, is that Bodhisattva established Pure Land for the benefits of all living. So what is the cause or argument of it? So one cannot adorn or dignify the land, Pure Land without liberating all living beings. So if you still don't understand at this point, then they use an example to explain this. If there's no empty land or no vacant land, then there is no place to build a palace. So the empty land is referring to this all sentient beings. So if you're in ethereal emptiness, then you cannot create a Pure Land. So this the vacant land is referring to the pure land. So it is because there are people for you to deliver, then then that's why there's a result of the Pure Land. So from another kind of perspective to talk about here is the straightforward mind is the Bodhisattva's Pure Land. And for when we realize the Buddhahood is free, then of deceit and hypocrisy will be born into this Pure Land. So this is your confidence in the triple treasure and the belief in this, because you have no doubt, then you will apply and execute, and because you execute it and practice, you'll have more experience, and that's where you get profound mind or deep mind, and that's when this is the meaning of deep mind. And so the third kind of mind is the Bodhi mind, bodhicitta. And so this is the mind that to wish for the Buddhahood, wish for all sentient beings to be Buddha. So So the subjective mind of all sentient being is actually the same as the Buddha's mind. And then lastly is the Dharma methods. So these are essentially there are six paramitas, the four great immeasurables, and 37 ways, and the Bodhisattva Pure Land. So this is the unique part of this sutra. So let's do a quick summary. So the key point here is it starts from the cause and talk about effect second. And it describes all the sentient being as the cause of the Pure Land. So it's saying that the subjective mind of the sentient being is the same as the Buddha. So it's to remove the separation between the level of the sentient beings and the Buddha land. And so the next is the practice. So the Mahayana practice are all essentially the Buddha Pure Land. So from all these perspectives, it's all talking about the result from the perspective of cause. So after this they talk about the Buddha talked about. So the pure mind doesn't necessarily mean a pure land. There's still three steps before you can get to the Pure Land. So in my other talk, no, in this other book, it talks about the initial wisdom is starting from self benefit, and the endless field of merit is the benefiting others. And so lastly the important part is the return of merit, and the mature wisdom is to see the non-dual connective nature of those. So if you're all interested, you can see the Master Sheng Yin's book. So we talk about the straightforward mind, the control mind, and profound mind, and because if you execute and you practice, then you will gain experience. So experience and embodiment is different. So for example, when we travel, I follow the travel group. It's like, oh, I've experienced it before, but have you really embodied it? But maybe not. But if you're a backpacker, you might have a better embodiment of the travel experience. So only when you have experience and an embodiment, you have a deep understanding of the things, and leading to no doubt, then you'll have less vexation, then you'll do it right away. So if I can directly experience the true merit and the goods of this practice, then you can do it without trouble. And so as you have less vexations and you have practice merit, and you know the good of this practice, then you have to uh, practice as you say, as you preach, practice as you speak. So Master Sheng Yen said he was very keen on sharing, right? So one time he got a banana, and he wanted to share the banana to his friends, and share with his friend. Every little kid, everyone's friends get to lick the banana once. So Master Sheng Yen wanted to share the benefits, right? So he is doing as he preach. And so this portion is this initial wisdom is this benefiting yourself. So how do you turn the self benefiting to benefiting others? So there's a key transition, which is the transfer of merit. So we often have the transfer of merit verse that we say at the end. We say like, oh, I wish you with all the merits of today, I return the merit to my parents, wish them healthy, wish them well, and wish their kids have a smooth life. For example, we might often think that it's like this kind of a not invisible and invisible merit, and transfer that to our relatives, the people, So this actually is just a small portion of the transfer of merit, and in fact, it's all all of the achievements of the merit, I do not take it all as myself. And because this is just something that I experienced, I embodied, this merit was not just achieved by myself, but in fact, but I somehow accomplished it. But it is because of all the complex surrounding causes and conditions that allowed me to allowed this the result of this merit. So this result is, so if the cause is with all these greater conditions, then shouldn't we naturally share all the merit to others and everybody? It shouldn't just be as simple as sharing what you got to others. It is more from the observation of the reasons that this was accomplished because of all the complex causes and conditions of the world. and and so because of this understanding, then you might start to have actions of benefiting others, and so that leads to upaya, which is expedient means. Because I know deeply of this benefits, then and I have to even it makes it even more important that I share this benefit and help others, to help deliver and enlighten other living beings. And if when the sentient beings are delivered, then the Pure Land can be achieved. So this is a turning point from benefiting self to others. The key is the transfer of merit and the deep embodiment of that. And our observation, if my understanding is just what's on the textbook, so, oh, this food is precious because of the sun, water, and oil, and soil. It's just this kind of basic understanding of where our food comes from. If I can really embody and understand that the food is precious and it's not easy to come by, then you can, can you further even connect this the benefit of this bowl of rice, and the greater causes and conditions, and make the connections. And if you can do that, then you will be more appreciative and be able to share the result to others. And this is a kind of upaya and kind of a expedient mean. So because of the time, I was originally wanted to share how one can change from the self to or direct to the others. And so there are many ways. So the key is to correct the view on the causes and conditions and causes of conditions. So what I think is really helpful is to start from the cause, to focus on the cause. If you start from looking at the cause, it's easier for us to see how this all sentient beings has benefited me. If I see everything from the point of results, then I might think like, oh, it might be all the good deeds that I have done in the past that allowed me to do this. So then I might think, of course, this I should get, I should have this. You will not develop the mind to you might not develop the heart to transfer the mirror. And if you start from the cause, you'll see that, oh, the reason why I was able to have this is because I received a lot of benefit from all sentient beings. And you might think, oh, because other people benefited me, then what I should also benefit others. I should also repay all that have benefited me. And if you meet others who you have trouble with, then you might you might if you just think of it as kind of a debt to debtor relationship, you will be less proactive. If you see things from perspective of result. If you start from the perspective of cause, then you might be more willing to practice forbearance when you meet some challenging people or challenging matters. So a lot of the people's growth are are achieved in adverse conditions. And when you're in adverse conditions, you might be able to see the conditions that enable me, and that might help you change your perspective. And so this is my sharing of the transfer of merit to help you guys change, make that shift from benefiting self to benefiting others.
And the last, Vimalakirti talking about these different steps, and he has a conclusion, which is if a Bodhisattva want to attain the Pure Land, they need to purify their minds. So and attain the pure Buddha hand. So he talked about certain approaches. If we can summarize the certain approaches, that will be this following 4 steps. So you have to have pure mind, and then we're affecting people around you. And then people around you will be affecting people around them, so on and so forth. So people who live in the same places will be also affected by the pure mind. So from the pure mind, the pure land, it has to be implementing to purify your behavior before you can obtain the pure land. So the way that uplift the characteristic of humanity is the first 3 steps: pure mind, pure practice, and pure sentient beings. So the pure land is used for the purpose of deliver people, not built for our pleasures or enjoyment. So in this sutra, they make connection between consciousness and material world. So every self and others. So it's all connected. So Shariputra was asking Buddha, saying that, well, when you were Bodhisattvas, your mind must be impure because your Buddha land is defiled. And he said, the Buddha says that the blind people cannot see the sun and moon. Is that the problem, the sun and moon, that the blind people cannot see that? Shariputra says that no, it's not the problem of sun and moon, because it is the problem of the blind. And okay, let's talk about this. I know that our director, he liked to eat blue cheese. I remember in 2017, he took me to a cafeteria, and you know, I'm from the remote countryside, so I hid behind him and I saw he picked this up, and I saw those crumbled blue cheese. I saw that it must be delicious because Venerable Chang pick a lot. So follow his example. I also pick a lot, and you know, it was so I almost vomiting because of the stinky scent. You know, some people like it, some people don't. For example, sticky dough, some people really like it. So your preference of this food is because of the food itself? No, it's how a person see it differently. Some people prefer the scent, some people think it's vomiting, disgusting. So it's not the problem of the food, it's our distinction mind, because we have distinguishing mind, so we see things differently. For example, they sit in the same place, they probably see in the same sceneries. Some people will paint the power tower, and some people just paint draw the scenery, and then they are happy by it. So it all coming from our distinguishing mind. So the first step of spiritual development is to see our own distinguishing mind, but not to change the external environment. So let's make a quick summary. First of all, this chapter talking about from external to internal, from external material to the internal mind. So where is the Pure Land? So Buddha did not talking about the external world light with gold. He's talking about the external, the Pure Land is with ourselves and in our mind. So it's from inside to outside. So it's from external to inside and from inside to out. So if we do that, we are able to see the equal Pure Land. So if we want to have pure mind to obtain Pure Land, there are 4 steps. So we have to, there are things that we have to do, we have to follow for environmental protection. We cannot just focus on our internal consciousness. It cannot just change our idea, not just that. You have to be more proactive. You have to be more proactive, you change your behavior and therefore change other people's behavior. So not just limiting on your internal thoughts. So you can see, so each of the chapter talking about non-duality. So what is non-duality? From external to internal, from internal to external, talking about from contradictory to equalities. And if you want to build Pure Land, you have to start with pure mind. However, you have to change your behavior, you have to benefit other people, you have to transfer your benefits, merits to others. You have to work on and liberate people from their suffering. So this is the Buddha path. And finally, this is what I talk about. Shariputra cannot see the Pure Land. So the Buddha uses toe to touch the ground and then manifest the Pure Land. And he says that my Buddha land is always as pure as this. Why my Pure Land will see different flaws? Because people here need this. So people here is not up to the level. So for the sake of deliver all sentient beings, I have to manifest the land as such. Because you have a distinguished mind, you will see different land. And the important thing is that purity or defilement is really depending on your mind. Talking about some of the gods take their food from one precious receptacle, but depending on how much merit you have, you will eat different things. For example, venerables want to reward me, so I pick a lot of butchers that really doesn't feel good. So if you have pure mind, so probably if I'm not attached to the stinky scents of the butchers, it could be my Pure Land. So I guess, do we still have time? So it's past 6 minutes past. So this is the, so I present you the overview of the Buddha land. So then we were talking about the expedient means. You know, Buddha land just manifest the Pure Land. And the next time, Vimalakirti will begin to talk about how people get rid of vexation in order to have Pure Land. So he used dialogue, he uses words to manifest the importance of benefit self and others and non-duality, as well as inconceivable liberation to manifest the Buddha's Pure Land. So this is what we're talking about in the next 2 courses. So do people have questions? 3 minutes left. Thank you, Venerable. Because in the interest of time, so let's open up for 1 or 2 questions. So you can using the chat, you can use the Zoom function to raise your hand. Or for those people who are watching the streaming in Facebook, you can also type your question. So we have one question. Let me read it for you. She said, there are a few chapters talking about some Bodhisattva refused to see Vimalakirtis because they have kind of negative experiences with Vimalakirti. Do they have like negative experiences with him in prior lifetime? Yes, they hold grudge against Vimalakirti, and it is included in the chapter. So, for example, Shariputra refused to go to call on Vimalakirti. He says that I was doing sitting meditation in remote areas, and then I was using the methods taught by Buddha, and I was observing wisdom. So that's my way of practicing. So because I was sitting in a remote area, and then Vimalakirti suddenly show up, and he say, "This is wrong." So you try to get rid of the vexation, the worldly life full of vexation. You try to cut it, break down, and disconnect. So he was scouted by Vimalakirti by being away and try to get rid of vexation, only benefit himself. And then the other time, the other Bodhisattva was scouted. He was preaching Buddhas, but Vimalakirti saying that, oh, Dharma cannot be described in language. He says that the people who speaking and spreading Dharma and learning the Dharma has been divided into two parties, and this is a mistake. And so he cannot like he cannot convince Vimalakirti, and so he felt that he was scouted and decided not to go. So he felt that Vimalakirti are at different level. They don't know how to call on him. So when a person was sick, so when we go to call on people who were healed, we will say, well, take care of yourself, or eat something more nutritious, try to sleep early. But we'll say, were you nervous? So you're under a lot of pressure. So we kind of advise people who were ill to do kind of things to take care of himself. But Vimalakirti is too smart. So if I say that to him, I probably be scolded. I don't know what to talk to him. So they sent finally they sent Manjusuri to visit him because other people have been defeated in the past. Thank you for your answer. In the interest of time, let's have the one last question. And then we were collecting all the questions from chat room, and then we will ask Fasu to answer them on Wednesday. Buddha nature should be pure. Why do we have to use silt to bring out the nature of Buddha nature? Can we directly talk about Buddha nature? It's emptiness. You cannot describe it by language, right? So when Chinese people try to draw a moon, you do a circle, right? It's a moon, right? That's You use the cloud to reveal the moon. So as long as you kind of draw the moon, draw the cloud, you can use the black dark cloud to show the moon. So there's two ways to manifest the Buddha nature. The first thing is that you cannot say it by using language to just describe it. You cannot describe it by language. You can only guess it by body language. For example, some things are counterintuitive.
Because the mind is not conceivable. So if you want to see the true mind, you cannot say it. This is the first kind. It's unspeakable. It can be written that to present the Buddha nature. So the other is I have to say something, right? I have to present it in speech. So I can't say it directly, and because I have to use something that is relative way. I can talk about it relative way. It's just like the example I said about presenting the moon with the dark clouds. So another way to see it is in the Tiantai school is the categorization of Buddhism. So they have there are two types of way to present the Buddha nature, and one is to remove all the impurity, and or you show it in relative to defilement, then you can see pure light. The other one is to say all that you see, everything is Buddha nature. For example, if you see poop on the floor, that's Buddha nature. These are two types of way to talk about the Buddha nature. So in the Vimalakirti Sutra, it doesn't really actually talk about the Buddha nature, this concept. It really is more about the Madhyamaka and or Prajna, but we can kind of apply these concepts to it. But if we want to purely understand this sutra as it is, then I did not bring in the Buddha nature concept in here. But can we talk about the Buddha nature in the sutra? Yes, of course. It does certainly has the essence of Buddha nature in the sutra. So, but just because we want to be true to the time period, that's why. This is okay? So Venerable, uh, so Venerable, there's another question I want to ask. So in the PowerPoint where it says the under this slide, it asks, the sutra says as long as the wisdom is pure, then then your merits are pure. If your merits are pure, then your then the mind is pure. So actually, I missed a step. There should be 13 steps. I'm actually missing a step. So actually, thank you, because I actually missed a step. There's actually 13 steps. I will add this in. Okay, so thank you. Okay. So because we have passed our time, so I saw there's some more questions. So please put your questions in the chat room or send it to us, and we can ask the questions to Venerable later. So the file that Venerable has shared to us is in the chat room in Zoom. It's also in the live stream in Facebook. So please see those. If you do not get an opportunity to download it, our video will be posted on YouTube. So and the documents will be posted as well. So today is the first course, and there'll be 3 more courses. The next course is Wednesday. It will be Pacific time 7 p.m. and Eastern time at 10 p.m. and And we very much look forward to everybody coming again to listen to Venerable Changqi, this such special story about the Vimalakirti. And so let's join palm and bow to the Buddha, bow to Master Shengyan, bow to Venerable Changqi. Thank you, Amitabha. Thank you, everybody. So we will see each other on Wednesday and in Taiwan time on Thursday. Amitabha.